I've been silent, but actually, I'm pregnant with Kevin's child. Won't you take responsibility? The day after the wedding. My family had all gathered at the house I now shared with my husband, Kevin. As I went to the front door in surprise, my sister stared at me with sharp eyes and said, "What does this mean? You're fortunate enough not to have any children yet. Let's make Kevin take responsibility. You should break up with him and let Kevin marry Kate. Summer, give Kevin up to her," my father said with a stern face.
Sis, you said it's Kevin's child, but what do you mean? How many months pregnant are you?
I couldn't help but ask my sister. I'm 3 months pregnant.
If Kevin doesn't take responsibility, this child will end up without a father.
That's just pitiful, isn't it? My sister said, with a malicious grin on her face. However, after hearing what I said next, my sister started trembling. My name is Summer. I'm a 26-year-old housewife. Today, I want to talk about how I stood up to my own sister, who tried to steal my husband. This happened a few years ago when I was still single. There was a middle school reunion held after a long time, and I reunited with Kevin, my childhood friend who used to live nearby. Just after I started elementary school, my sister Kate, who is 4 years older than me, Kevin, and I used to play together quite a bit. But gradually, he started to drift away as he felt embarrassed to be playing with girls, a feeling quite typical for boys at that age. After entering middle school, we became even more distant as Kevin's family moved away. So, when he spoke to me at the reunion, I was really nervous. However, there's a great ally when you become an adult. Yes, that's alcohol. After loosening up with a few drinks, Kevin, who also got more talkative with alcohol, and I found ourselves having a great time, almost as if we had never been apart. Just the two of us went to a second and then a third gathering, and just when we were about to call it a night, Kevin opened up.
When we were kids, I had a crush on you, but somehow, I feel like I can still be in love with you even now as adults.
I chuckled and replied, "What's that about?" but then casually added, "So, wanna go out?" And just like that, our relationship began. Later on, a sober Kevin was holding his head, saying, No, I got way too carried away." Oh, how embarrassing. Who said those lines? It was me. And needless to say, I couldn't help but grin as I watched him. Everything went smoothly from there, and we decided to get married. We visited each other's parents' homes and finished our greetings, planning to get married and start living together in 6 months. We were childhood friends, so our parents already knew each other. There seemed to be no problems, and we were confident we'd get the okay. But, as it turns out, there was a problem at my house. It happened when Kevin came over to greet my family, and we were having a meal together. "I'm home." With a tired voice, my sister Kate came back from work. As soon as she saw Kevin sitting at the table with my family, her surprised face suddenly brightened up, and she looked overjoyed. "Is that Kevin? Wow, it's been so long. Why are you at our house?" Kevin looked a bit embarrassed, and then glanced at me. "You see, we've been dating for about half a year now. And we've decided to get married. He came over today to tell everyone about it." I thought it was my place to explain, so I spoke on behalf of Kevin. At that moment, my sister's face clearly showed dissatisfaction. "Heh. I see. I'm tired, so I'm going to bed. Bye." After giving me a quick glance, my sister went to her room and slammed the door shut. Geez, that's a terrible attitude. Did I make her uncomfortable? Worried, I looked at Kevin, but he smiled back at me as if to say, "Don't worry about it," which made me feel relieved. My sister Kate is highly educated and very beautiful, so she's been popular since she was young. However, while she appears nice on the outside, she actually has a pretty bad personality. Today, she must have had some dissatisfaction with my marriage or living together with Kevin. But even our parents didn't show any problems, so why on earth is my sister so dissatisfied? I couldn't understand her feelings, and even after Kevin left, I was still pondering whether or not I should ask her directly. That night, as I was about to head to the bathroom, I suddenly bumped into my sister in the hallway. I was at a loss for words, and my sister glared at me as if she was a demon.
"I never thought that you would marry Kevin. I've liked him since a long time ago. I will never forgive you for this."
With a huff, she turned on her heel and quickly left. I was left dumbfounded by her unexpected confession. Wait, what? Sister likes Kevin? This might turn into a bit of a messy situation, I thought as I held my head in my hands. After spending a sleepless night, or rather, tossing and turning all night, I finally found my answer. Even if my sister likes my fiancé, is there really a problem with that? I mean, Kevin and I are already engaged to be married. If Kevin liked my sister, it would be a different story, but that's not the case. Besides, if she has liked him since we were kids, she should have confessed her feelings to him a long time ago. It was my sister's mistake for not expressing her feelings, and it's ridiculous for me to be blamed for that. I can very well imagine that my sister will be colder towards me from now on, but I decided to be optimistic and take it with a large heart, one of my strong points. However, I was still left wondering whether I should tell Kevin about this situation or not. Because that would reveal my sister's feelings to Kevin. If I don't tell him, he will feel uncomfortable every time he visits my house without knowing why. Considering he is also involved, I thought it was only right to explain everything to him. When I told Kevin everything, he looked worried and said, "I see. Summer, if anything happens, make sure to tell me, okay? Though I'm not sure how much help I can be. Indeed, it's a sister issue. Maybe I should use you as a shield if she ever tries to attack me? Hey, don't joke about that." "Ha, I'm just kidding." And so, we decided not to think too deeply about it. Neither of us had any intention of changing our decision to get married, and it was not an issue that could be resolved by convincing my sister and gaining her understanding. So, our choice was to leave it as it is. As expected, from that point on, my sister's treatment towards me became harsher. On the first day, when I went to take a bath after her, she had drained the bathtub. Well, it wasn't a big deal. I actually felt a bit of relief, thinking, my sister is still so immature to do such petty things. However, I had a hard time when she hid my makeup and wallet, especially before going to work. I was shaking at the thought of being late as I frantically searched the whole house. Thanks to that, I barely made it to work on time twice in a week, and my boss looked at me coldly, wondering if I was slacking off with my wedding just around the corner. At first, my parents didn't know about my sister's pranks, but they started to notice something was wrong when she began hiding valuables. My mom scolded her, saying, "Why are you acting like a child at your age?" Well, it seemed like my sister didn't take it too seriously, responding with something like, "You're so annoying." The problem was my dad. Ever since my sister was born, and my mom fell ill, resulting in him taking care of a newborn by himself for a few weeks, he has always favored my sister. If I had to think of an experience where I felt left out, well, there was this one time when we were kids, and we went to a department store to buy clothes. My sister has always been pretty, so he would say, "Everything looks good on you," and let her choose whatever she wanted. But when I said, "I want that dress," he would say, "You should settle for this one," and pick out something random for me. My mom would listen to my opinion, so I didn't have any hard feelings about my dad's favoritism. However, if my mom wasn't like that, I probably would have ended up with a huge inferiority complex. Even back then, my friends would say things like, "Your sister is the favorite," so I was aware that there was some favoritism. But this time, my dad was blatantly on my sister's side. She seemed to be telling him that her younger sister stole her boyfriend, and in my dad's eyes, Kevin was the villain who played with the feelings of both sisters. "Your sister is getting married to this guy, but what about the sister who got dumped?" he thought, taking her side. My mom was skeptical about my dad's view, saying, "I can't imagine Kevin doing such a thing," and she listened to my side of the story, saying, "That's not how it is." On top of that, she was fair and didn't take sides, listening to both me and my sister. But my father said, "I can't help but feel sorry for your abandoned sister. Now she's being played with. I won't allow my beloved daughters to be manipulated like this. Wake up." He said this as if I had been brainwashed by Kevin. No matter what I said, he wouldn't listen to me. It was becoming a big problem that he was starting to oppose our marriage, but I decided to push through anyway. I left home earlier than planned and decided to move in with Kevin quickly. If I wasn't at my parents' house to begin with, I wouldn't be harassed by my sister. As it turned out, that decision was the right one, and my life living with Kevin went on peacefully. As days went by, my mother said, "Maybe Summer is right, and she is an adult now, so she should do as she pleases." My father still seemed unsatisfied, but he didn't say anything directly to me. He probably thought that even if Kevin and I broke up, it would be pitiful for me, and he couldn't imagine Kevin going back to my sister. He must have thought this was the best way to settle things. I didn't hear anything from my problematic sister, and I thought everything was finally over. But on the day of the wedding, my sister still didn't show up, and my father said, "It's not too late. Why don't you think it over one more time?" He urged me to reconsider the marriage. Not everyone might have been truly happy for us, but under the watchful eyes of my parents, we got married. The next day, the doorbell rang loudly from early in the morning.
What? What's going on?
Kevin and I jumped out of bed. Rushing to the monitor, I saw that my whole family had come to visit.
Dad, Mom, Sister, what on earth is going on?
As I went to the door in surprise, my sister glared at me with sharp eyes.
You know, I kept quiet about this, but actually, I'm pregnant with Kevin's baby.
Will he take responsibility? What is this about?
You're lucky you don't have kids yet. Maybe you should break up with him and let Kevin and Kate get married.
My mother, listening to my sister and father, asked me in a confused tone, "What on earth is going on?" At that moment, Kevin, still half asleep, followed me to the entrance.
What? My baby? Huh, what?
He suddenly woke up completely, looked at me in surprise, and vigorously shook his head and hands as if to say, "No. That's not true. I didn't do anything." I believed in Kevin's innocence, but I couldn't help but burst into laughter at his reaction. "Sister, you said it's Kevin's baby, but what do you mean? How many months pregnant are you?"
3 months. If Kevin doesn't take responsibility, this baby will grow up fatherless. That would be pitiful, right? 3 months!
I was taken aback by my sister's words and exchanged glances with Kevin. "That's funny." We burst into laughter. My parents stood there confused.
My sister panicked and said, "What's so funny? What are you laughing at?"
"No, it's just, oh, so it was 3 months ago?" Tears came out of my eyes from laughing too much. "Kate, we had a great time last time, didn't we?" Yes." My sister was momentarily flustered by Kevin's sudden question. My parents looked at Kevin with disgust, not understanding what he meant. "By the way, Kate, do you remember what I whispered to you 3 months ago?" "Huh?" My sister looked confused. 3 months ago, I said something really cheesy to you. I can't remember exactly what it was, but do you remember?" Kevin posed as if he was trying hard to recall, but in a somewhat exaggerated manner. What? What are you talking about, Kevin? I confessed my love to you in a really cheesy way, don't you remember?" Kevin said this embarrassing line with a serious face, not minding my sister's puzzled look. "Well, never mind. Here's the next question. I actually have a really embarrassing tattoo on my back. Do you remember what it was?" "What? No, huh?" My sister was confused by Kevin's strange question. My mother, watching their interaction, started to feel something was off about their relationship. They don't seem like they've been intimate, she must have thought. And she was right. There's no way they could have such a conversation if they really had spent a night together. Not to mention in front of their parents. This kind of conversation itself proved that nothing had actually happened between them. My sister, now desperate, answered, Is it a character from an anime or something?" "Too bad. I don't have any tattoos, you know?" Suddenly, the father, who had been silently listening to the exchange between Kevin and his sister, burst in.
"Enough is enough, Kevin. You've been fooling around with my precious daughters, and now you're making jokes?"
I tried to stop my father, who looked like he was about to grab Kevin any moment now. "Wait. Listen to me. Sister, you said you were 3 months pregnant, didn't you? Then, considering when you would have conceived, it's impossible that the child is Kevin's." "What? What do you mean?" My mother was the one to catch on to my words. Is it okay if I say it?" I glanced at Kevin, and he reluctantly nodded, making a face as if he was in deep trouble. Wait, can I say it?" "It's fine, but can you say it?" "Yeah, With a show of bravado as if to say, "I'll do it," he opened his mouth. Around that time, I got scratched on a very delicate part by our cat at home." At this moment, the whole family's mouths dropped open in shock.
"Come on, don't lie. There's no way you could get scratched there."
My father snapped back to reality and scolded him, while my mother held her stomach, laughing loudly. No, embarrassing as it is to admit, it's true. It was hot, so I thought I'd cool off a bit. I thought I was out of sight and relaxed in the buff, when our cat approached me with a meow and scratched me. Kevin's face, even his ears, turned beet red. I thought to myself that I shouldn't laugh to save him from further embarrassment caused by my family, but I couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. There's no way there could be a man that embarrassed. No, there actually is a man that embarrassed right in front of you, dad-in-law. Kevin retorted with a face as red as a tomato, his voice barely audible. But still, that doesn't prove that the child in my stomach isn't Kevin's. My sister, who had been losing ground, joined back in as if she had regained her breath. No, Kate, think about it. Those sharp cat claws, right? And on such a delicate spot? You're a man, you understand, right? The pain of getting hurt in such a vital place. Kate fell silent in front of Kevin's serious face. Perhaps imagining the situation from his explanation, her father grimaced and softly held his groin. Though he hastily put on a grim expression, it was visibly clear that he was gradually starting to believe Kevin's words. It's a really important part for a man, you know, it was tough. We even called an ambulance. Really, I was more embarrassed being there with him. I couldn't help but interject into Kevin's story. It was a tough situation. I even had a fever and had to be hospitalized for a while. Honestly, in that condition, I doubt I could even, conceive. If you want, you can check with the hospital where he was admitted, he said, his face turning red with embarrassment. At that, my mother burst into laughter. By the way, Kevin, when you used to play at our house a long time ago, you often used to strip naked in the bathroom, didn't you? My mother, laughing heartily, dug up the old story. What? What are you talking about? He was blushing furiously as he retorted to my mother. From the looks of it, my mother had completely trusted him by now. I felt relieved. Well, yeah, I can sympathize with you as a man. I doubt anyone would bother telling such an embarrassing lie, no need to confirm it with the hospital. At this moment, my father looked at Kevin with kind, almost saintly eyes, as if respecting his remaining pride. Ironically, given where the injury was, it seemed understanding came quicker from another man. Meanwhile, my sister stood there, stunned. I turned to her and said, "Hey, sis. Even if we're fed such a ridiculous lie, either Kevin nor I are going to get a divorce. If anything, I think you're just making yourself more miserable." At that moment, my sister's eyes widened in anger. Shut up, shut up, shut up. What the hell? I'm more popular than you are. I can't take this. I don't like Kevin if he's going to take Summer's side. Emotional, she tried to grab me, but Kevin forcefully shook off her hand. Kate. I don't care if you don't like me. I love Summer, so it doesn't matter. I think of you as an important childhood friend and sister, but I have never and will never see you romantically. If you continue to lie like this, I will stand against you with all my might. I am Summer's husband, and I will protect her with everything I have. Kevin told my sister this with a serious expression on his face. Watching this, my father said, Kate, if you really are pregnant, could you show us any medical records or anything? Hearing this line, it became clear that my parents had believed my sister's pregnancy claim based solely on her word, without any proof. My mother also urged my sister, if it's a lie, you should apologize to them. My sister bit her lip and trembled. Forget it. If no one's going to take my side, then I don't want to hear it later that you regret it. With that, she left the room in tears. My father moved as if to follow her, but my mother stopped him, saying, let her go. She needs to cool down. 2 weeks later. It seemed like my mother had forcibly taken my sister to the gynecologist, but as expected, there was no sign of pregnancy. My parents apologized to Kevin, saying, we're sorry for causing trouble and suspecting you without reason. We should have trusted Kevin, whom we have known since childhood. Please continue to take care of Summer. And to me, they said, we're really sorry for making you feel bad. Honestly, I don't think my parents, specifically my father, were in the wrong regarding this commotion. Everyone makes a mistake or two. This time it just happened to be my parents, more precisely my father. Affected by his favoritism towards my sister. However, considering the great debt of gratitude I owe them for raising me so well, I decided to forgive them. As for my problematic sister, after her lie about being pregnant was exposed, she seemed suddenly embarrassed and said, "I give up on this family," and left home in a huff. In the past, my father, being soft on my sister, would have gone after her immediately, but this time he said, "Maybe it's better for Kate not to come back for a while, it'll give her time to cool off." My mother stated, after pulling something like that, she can't just chalk it up to a whim. If she can't come back and sincerely apologize, she's not welcome in this house. I can't imagine my fiercely angry sister ever sincerely apologizing to us, and I think my mother feels the same way. In other words, this is effectively a disownment. 5 years have passed since then. My sister did come back and apologize to my parents and us once, but she ended up being truly disowned and kicked out of the house. At first, my sister Kate seemed remorseful, but during Thanksgiving holidays that year, she drank heavily and caused trouble. She came to our parents' house with me and sneaked into Kevin's bed, who was already asleep, saying, "Hey, aren't you getting tired of summer by now?" Groggy Kevin thought a burglar had entered and screamed, what though loud enough to potentially anger the neighbors. With his scream, not only I but also our parents woke up and discovered what was happening. Being quite drunk, Kate started shouting and thrashing around, saying, "I mean, you always seem so close to summer, and it made me jealous. You could pay a little attention to me too." I was furious and had enough, and my parents, with faces like avenging demons I had never seen before, disowned Kate. Especially, my father, who should have doted on my sister, openly displayed disgust and said, "I don't remember raising a child like this." I will never forget that moment. When she sobered up, Kate apologized repeatedly, but my father sternly rejected her, saying, "Actions when drunk reveal your true feelings. We can't trust anything you say anymore." With that, she tearfully left our family home. Meanwhile, soon after the chaotic holidays, I discovered I was pregnant with our first child. Being at the age where he loves to play, if you take your eyes off him for a moment, he'll cover an entire wall with crayon drawings, and even if you clean it up, he'll just start drawing again. But we can't help but adore him, so no matter what mischief he gets up to, both Kevin and I end up forgiving him. Thanks to that, we're living happily every day. My parents are delighted with their first grandchild, visiting us frequently to help out with childcare. Kevin is cooperative with parenting, always responding with a smile even when our son pulls his hair while being carried on his shoulders. Ours is a loud and lively household, far from quiet and calm, but right now, I am utterly content and filled with happiness.